So a big part of those changes will be Secretary Hegseth's 10-point plan to refocus the military and elevate what he calls a warrior ethos and prepare for war with the goal of getting rid of, quote, wokeness.
A few pieces of that plan. Hegseth is calling to end political correctness in leadership, impose new physical guidelines, which are really old guidelines, and shift focus toward military strength.
All right, so Fox News contributor Katie Pavlich will join us on all of that in just a moment. But first, let's get to our senior White House correspondent, Peter Doocy. What a day, Peter.
And Sandra, it all boils down to the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, wanting more accountability. He wants higher standards for the men and women serving our country in uniform, and he wants greater consequences for America's adversaries.
Should our enemies choose foolishly to challenge us, they will be crushed by the violence, precision, and ferocity of the War Department. In other words, to our enemies, FAFO. If necessary, our troops can translate that for you.
As President Trump walked out to Marine One for the chopper ride down the Potomac to Quantico, he announced that Hamas negotiators will have just 3 or 4 days from now to agree to the 20-point peace plan he and Benjamin Netanyahu have laid out. Then he told this rare gathering of top military brass the goal is going to be to keep them out of the Middle East during his time in office.
Everybody wants to be on the board of peace, and we're going to watch over that very volatile part of the world and keep it non-volatile so you don't have to get involved. We want to save you for other things or save you for nothing from that standpoint. We don't want you fighting wars, but if you have to, you're the most lethal fighting force in the world. And I would say that even 2-3 years ago, but now I say it with great enthusiasm.
The commander-in-chief also spoke a little bit to this gathering of top military brass about the war in Ukraine. He said that he is so disappointed in Vladimir Putin, and he again suggested that the Russians may be a paper tiger. Sandra.
All right. Peter Doocy live at the White House for us. Thank you, John.
All right, Sandra, let's bring in Fox News contributor Katie Pavlich. So this 10-point plan to renew the military, which in many ways takes it back to what it was doing 30 years ago. Strict physical requirements, tightening standards for warfighting eligibility and capability. Here's, in part, what the secretary said earlier today.
From this moment forward, the only mission of the newly restored Department of War is this: warfighting, preparing for war and preparing to win, unrelenting and uncompromising in that pursuit. Not because we want war, no one here wants war, but it's because we love peace.
So you watched the whole thing. What did you think?
Well, there are a couple main themes. The first is that this is simply carrying out President Trump's promise on the campaign trail to rebuild the military and to get rid of distractions. When you listen to the Secretary of War, they're talking about getting rid of distractions that make it less likely that the Department of War can carry out its mission. And he was saying basically they need to be preventing wars by establishing themselves as the most lethal warfighting military on the face of the planet. And they're doing that through the series of things that you had up on the screen, the 10-point plan. But it comes down to, reestablishing the same standards for everybody, whether you're an officer, a general in the military, or you're enlisted. For far too long, there's been a huge discrepancy between the consequences for failures. A good friend who was a Navy SEAL who always talks about, if you're enlisted and you lose a rifle, you lose your career and you're dishonorably discharged. If you're a general who loses a war, you oftentimes get promoted. So all of that went away today. And the bottom line is that the military is a life or death institution. Yep. It is not a social experiment. And this is something that the president made clear when he ran for office the third time and won, and something that he particularly has tasked the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, with carrying out.
All right. Hey, we should point out to our viewers at home that we're not seeing as much of Katie as we normally do because of some technical glitch. Your lips and your voice aren't matching up. We're working on getting that fixed. Here's Hegseth on service members, male or female, not making the cut. This is what he said.
If women can make it, excellent. If not, it is what it is. If that means no women qualify for some combat jobs, so be it. That is not the intent. but it could be the result. So be it. It will also mean that weak men won't qualify.
So, I mean, you've got the chance here that because they have to be held to a male standard, that a lot of women won't make the cut. But then at the same time, men who are not capable of carrying out a combat role, like me, wouldn't make the cut either. I mean, I'm not shy to say I never passed the physical requirements.
I think John could pass PT, but the point is that, and he talked about this, Hegseth, throughout the course of his speech, is that when we're dealing with a position in the military, you are dependent on your teammate to save your life. It's a life or death situation, and it is inappropriate and dangerous to put someone next to you who has not met the same standards of excellence, regardless of whether they're the first for some kind of diversity reason or for a gender reason. And the thing that Hegseth also talked about was recruiting, and how his 15-year-old son, when he looks at him and says, are we willing to send him into this institution, a life or death scenario? And if the answer is yes, but the leadership has failed to do their job. And he went on to say that my son is no more important than all the sons of America and daughters of America are making this tough decision about whether they're going to go into the military and serve their country. And it's inappropriate for leadership, for social justice or experimental reasons, to be putting unqualified people next to their sons and daughters in the field when these are life or death situations. They're really trying to protect people's integrity and make sure that the mission is free of distraction.
You know, Hegseth did say, he said, the enemy doesn't care whether you're a man or a woman. They're trying to kill you.
They do not indeed.
Neither does the backpack or the rucksack that you have to carry or the artillery shell that you have to lift. You are either capable or you're not capable.
Exactly. And if you have one standard for everybody, then there's no discrimination at all.
Yep. Got it. Katie, good to see you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, John.
Hey, it's Will Kane. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News channel on YouTube. It's the best way to get our latest interviews and highlights. And click to subscribe to the Will Kane podcast for full episodes right now.